Once celebrated as the world's greatest saviors, Sage Dwight Harvant and hero Claire Barton now stand on the execution platform, branded as traitors. They are deeply bound by trust and affection, yet the same world they protected now turns against them. Whispers of betrayal spread through the crowd, twisting their glory into sin. The priest addresses the crowd, reading the parchment in his hand. With a firm voice, he declares the truth. It was Sage Dwight and hero Claire who defeated the demon god who sought to drown the world in darkness. Naming them before all, he calls them the heroes who ended that evil. For a brief moment, hope flickers in the air. But the moment shatters. His tone hardens as he proclaims that the souls of past heroes have long rotted, and now these two stand accused of becoming the next demon lords. They are said to crave chaos and destruction, and for that reason, their punishment is decided. Both will be cast into the Valley of the Dead. Dwight desperately tries to explain that they fought to protect the world, but his voice meets only scorn. The crowd curses them and binds them in heavy chains. Dwight struggles, realizing he cannot cast a single spell. The king's anger blazes as he calls him a servant of the demon lord and regrets ever honoring him as a hero. His words fall like a sentence. They will pay for their sins with death. In the chaos, Dwight turns to the hero and urges her to escape with him. She makes him realize that they cannot remain idle while waiting for a peaceful world. She then calms herself and speaks softly, saying that if peace can be maintained through their sacrifice, she will accept it. Her words carry a quiet strength. She reminds him that if he truly wished to live, he could have fled alone. People already see them as monsters who slew the demon lord. She reminds him that if he were to run away alone, they wouldn't hurry to find him. But she misunderstood what he meant. All he wanted to do was to live by her side, the one person he truly loved in this awful world. She smiles faintly, apologizing for dragging him into her fate. She thanks him for always being with her. His eyes widen as guilt grips him. He realizes she should not be the one apologizing. Before he can speak, the command for execution echoes through the square. Spears stabs their bodies mercilessly. The two fall together, their blood staining the ground that once hailed them as saviors. As Dwight's vision fades, he wonders in silence whether this cruel world is truly what they fought for, and if this is the peace the hero had wished to protect. Arrows rain down mercilessly, piercing their bodies again and again until both are hurled from the cliff, with brutal force. In that instant, Dwight feels as though he finally understands the world's true essence. Time passes, but he has no sense of how long. In the darkness, he cannot count how many times he screamed. He clutches the hero's decaying body tightly, refusing to let go. No one remains alive. Only death surrounds him. In that desolate land, Dwight alone stands transformed into a strange, undead being. In his skeletal form, a deep resentment burns within him. He realizes he cannot stay still like a silent corpse. He refuses to fade away. Yet when he looks at the hero's lifeless body, confusion grips him. He cannot understand what went wrong or why he is here. Staring at the body of his first love, he cannot grasp why she lies so still, so empty of life. He keeps talking to himself, asking and answering endlessly, forcing his mind to stay awake. Then an awakening dawns upon him. She never made a mistake. The world, he realizes, was already broken. The hero's intentions were pure, but her ways were flawed. Her heart, yearning for peace, was never wrong. Determined, he decides to fulfill her will, for it is now his duty as her aide. He accepts that they were both right and wrong, yet their greatest mistake was surrendering to the crowd. He vows to bring peace by his own means. He must fix this shattered world and erase those who have strayed. But even then, he feels something more must be done. Suddenly, weakness overwhelms him. He needs power, enough to make the world see him as its enemy. The miasma of the Valley of the Dead never ends. It poisons the living, yet the high undead are full of it. He chooses to take it in. When he does, agony consumes him. The miasma carries grief, memories, and the pain of countless souls. No being could bear such torment. It feels as if his brain would burn if he still had flesh. He cannot move or speak, only suffering in silence. Yet he endures for vengeance, for peace. He will not vanish here. When the pain subsides, he devours all the miasma of the valley. Power and chaos surge through him, greater even than the demon lords they once defeated. In that moment, he learns to control his newfound strength. He raises the valley's corpses, forming an army of skeletons, but the hero's body does not rise. He didn't make a conscious distinction, so why is it that she alone will not rise? In helplessness, he lifts her bones, determined to take revenge on those who brought death upon her. He will repay them all. If the world rejects them, then he will defy the world itself. He will create a realm where they no longer suffer. As his resolve takes form, countless knights turn toward him, stunned as they face the undead that now stands before them. Dwight arrives at the same valley where he and the hero were once executed, the echoes of furious citizens' chants still haunting the air. Seeing him return as an undead, the knights freeze in disbelief. To them, he is nothing more than a skeleton, yet Dwight crushes them effortlessly. Panic spreads. They fire desperately, but their attacks are useless. One by one, the knights fall, and their lifeless bodies begin to stir, rising again as undead. The survivors stare in horror as their fallen comrades turn into ghouls. Dwight realizes that this is the effect of his own dark miasma. Soon, countless skeletons emerge, flooding the battlefield like a tide of white bones. The remaining knights, terrified, try to flee, but Dwight watches calmly, knowing that their strength means nothing before the sheer numbers of his army. In an instant, the entire area is swallowed by a wave of bone and death. The knights curse him and continue to fight, but their end is inevitable. Dwight now commands not only the skeletons born from the valley, but also the ghouls formed from the fallen soldiers. Before he knows it, there is no purpose left for him here. He now leads a true horde of the undead and silently vows to destroy the royal capital and all its people. Meanwhile, in the royal mansion, the king grows tense as he receives grave news that the fortress guarding the Valley of the Dead has stopped responding, and an undead army is marching toward the capital. He immediately orders all holy mages to gather and commands the soldiers to defend the castle at any cost. Soon, cries echo through the capital that the undead have arrived. Troops rush to their positions and the air fills with fear. Dwight observes calmly, realizing that the enemy has prepared for his arrival. Mages and archers stand ready behind the lines, a classic tactic used against the undead, yet still lacking something. Arrows rain down from the walls, just as they once struck mercilessly when he was alive, but now they have no effect on him. They underestimate him, seeing only a horde of corpses. Their sorcerers hold back, believing the archers will suffice. Dwight knows this is the moment to reveal his true self. He releases his full power, and a thunderous explosion tears through the field, shaking the earth beneath their feet. As the smoke clears, Dwight stands firm, a dark calm in his eyes. He feels satisfied, strong enough to shatter the castle gates once more. Comparing his strength to when he was alive, he realizes he has surpassed himself. His magic now burns far beyond anything he once knew, vast, boundless, and terrifying. Chaos engulfs the city. People trample over one another in blind panic, desperate to escape with their lives. Watching the chaos unfold, Dwight realizes that this is exactly what the hero once fought so hard to protect. Yet the same world that mocked and humiliated them now trembles in fear, still ignorant, still unchanged. Terrified, the citizens scream, calling him a demon and begging him to stay away. They see only monsters before them, Dwight and his undead army. Hearing this, Dwight accepts the truth. He has become what they always wanted him to be, the very demon they created. Without hesitation, he resumes his attack. As a volley of arrows cuts through the air, he notices their glowing tips and recognizes the holy magic infused within them as the most effective weapon against the undead. But holding the hero's bones in his hands, he swears that he will never let them harm her again. The knights unite, firing relentlessly. Light pierces through him, and pain tears through his bones as his body begins to crumble. His form burns under purification, but he refuses to fall. The knights cheer, believing they have finally slain the undead leader. Yet moments later, his shattered bones move again. His power surges and his body reforms. Just as he expected, it is no issue. Every undead soldier carries a fragment of his magic, allowing him to transfer his consciousness freely. As long as his followers exist, he cannot be destroyed. The knights stare in disbelief but continue firing without pause. Dwight decides his experiment has reached its end. He summons his power, transforming scattered skeletons into monstrous forms and commanding them forward. Holding her bones, he realizes they have failed to harm her, and even his defensive magic has grown stronger since his death. The knights rush to raise the bridge, hoping to seal him out, but their struggle is meaningless. Dwight's existence is beyond theirs. Even if they try to overpower him, he can turn the tide at will. With overwhelming force, he breaks through and enters the castle. His army floods in behind him, cutting down every last defender. Moving deeper inside, Dwight surveys the familiar halls. He knows this place too well. Every corner, every stair. The one he seeks waits above, unmoving since the attack began. The king must believe his men can still protect him. Dwight knows better and silently calls him a fool. Standing before the grand door, he senses layer upon layer of magic barriers woven together by enchanted tools. A dark curse hums beneath his touch, ready to strike any intruder. But he ignores it. Channeling his full power, he shatters the door in a single blow and steps inside. The king freezes at the sight of him, fear gripping his face. Trembling, he demands to know his purpose. Dwight speaks his name, his voice cold and heavy. As the name echoes through the chamber, realization dawns on the king, his eyes widening in terror. When the king hears his name, disbelief freezes the room. Dwight Harvest, the man who died 10 years ago, stands before him. Dwight calmly admits that even he finds it hard to believe. The knights now loyal to him charge forward, striking down the king. The king cries out, demanding to be released, but Dwight's voice remains steady as he tells him that he has returned from the Valley of the Dead to bring peace to this corrupted world. The king refuses to accept it. He mocks him, saying, "Countless people were executed there, and none ever returned as undead." His arrogance doesn't waver, but Dwight faces him with unshaken resolve. He shows the shattered remains of the hero and demands to know why he branded them as traitors. The hero never deserved death. His tone softens with grief as he speaks of her, the woman who prayed for peace more than anyone, who alone was worthy of being called a true hero. The king, speaking coldly, admits that this very purity made her a nuisance in their eyes. Dwight's gaze hardens. He reminds him that after the demon lord's death, the world-changed heroes became burdens, their power no longer needed. Those who once protected the realm were now seen as threats to the throne. He accuses him of executing the hero out of selfish greed. The king proudly confesses it. With twisted laughter, he declares that as king, he had the right and that it was their own fault for refusing to be used. To Dwight, it is clear the man before him has lost all reason. Without another word, he commands the undead knights to silence him. They obey instantly, tearing the king apart as he curses him with his final breath, claiming that his execution was justified for the sake of the kingdom and the world. Turning to leave, Dwight's eyes fall on a sword resting on the wall. Recognition strikes him at once. It is the hero's sword, her final keepsake. He takes it in his hand, feeling a rush of familiarity as though it has always been his. The miasma within him stirs, carrying the memories and experiences of the dead. In that moment, he realizes he now holds every sword technique the hero once mastered. He hesitates briefly, unsure if he has the right to wield it, until a memory returns her gentle smile as she thanked him for standing by her side. He grips the blade firmly, accepting it as her parting gift. Outside, the royal capital burns in ruin. Blood and ash coat the land. Dwight stands amid the destruction, realizing that after 10 long years, it is finally over. The kingdom has fallen. Now he can move to the next phase. Declaring the city his new stronghold, he turns it into the foundation for what will come next. A grim smile touches his face as he reflects on the irony that the same sage who once fought to defeat the demon lord now stands as an undead conqueror of men. Life, he realizes, twists in ways no one can predict. And so, from the ashes of the fallen kingdom, he begins his reign, the birth of the kingdom of the undead. The mansion sinks into darkness, heavy and suffocating. No one can understand what has transpired within its walls. Dwight sits alone, trying to eat and drink, but as he expects, nothing passes his throat. His body rejects it as a reminder of what he has become. Outside, thick clouds of miasma drift across the capital, swallowing streets and towers alike. The once lively city turns into a silent grave, unfit for the living. Only a day ago it pulsed with life, but now death rules every corner. The capital stands like another valley of the dead. Dwight feels no regret. He knows this desolation is his own doing, and he accepts it calmly, seeing it as the beginning of something greater. From the pain and torment he endured in the Valley of the Dead, he gained one truth. When evil rises in the world, humanity unites against it. Survival demands struggle. The evil once called the Demon Lord had been that unifying threat. Nations joined hands to defeat it, their unity stronger than borders or pride. Yet that fragile balance collapsed not from any outside force, but by their own hands. The belief that destroying such evil would bring peace was a grave mistake. What followed was chaos, civil wars, disgraceful battles, rivers of blood, and endless conflict between kingdoms. The moment the demon lord fell, those who once fought side by side turned against each other. In this new world, peace becomes a word without meaning. From this, Dwight understands a grim truth. The only time true world peace existed was when an immortal evil ruled over it. Accepting that, he decides to take that role upon himself. He will become the new demon lord not to burn the world to ashes, but to hide his true purpose from every soul. He hardens his will, refusing to ever be defeated, and vows to fill the world with unending fear. This, he believes, is the duty of the necessary evil called the Demon Lord. To live up to that name, he needs an army worthy of it. Servants already kneel before him, yet what he truly seeks is one of immense power. Using the dark knowledge he gained from the Valley of the Dead, he begins to merge several undead into one being. Bones grind and twist as he works, and from that dreadful fusion a towering skeletal figure takes form. The creature stands before him, hollow eyes glowing faintly as if questioning whether the one before it is truly its creator. Seeing it before his eyes, a wave of triumph rushes through him. His summoning has succeeded. Before him stands a magnificent skeletal construct, its bones faintly gleaming under a sinister light. Then, to his astonishment, the creature speaks. A chill runs through him as he realizes he holds no control over it. Yet a small relief settles in his chest it can at least communicate. When the towering skeleton acknowledges him as its creator, Dwight hopes for a peaceful outcome. That hope vanishes as the creature erupts violently, charging at him with a thunderous roar. Dwight immediately channels his magic to defend against each increasingly heavy strike. Its cruel laughter echoes through the chaos, filled with twisted delight at recognizing the very one who gave it life. Amid the frenzy, Dwight's sharp eyes catch something terrifying. The creature has molded the surrounding miasma into vast skeletal wings. The sight stirs unease in him. The same power once unleashed through that lightning strike now burns before him with overwhelming control. He knows he cannot match it evenly, yet he refuses to yield. Gathering his strength, he unleashes every ounce of his refined craft, the same mastery that once earned him the name of Sage. His strike lands with blinding force. The skeleton howls in fury, its curses slicing through the air as it retaliates with everything it has. Lightning flares across the sky, each flash shaking the ground. Dwight instantly grasps the scale of its might. Each surge of light holds enough destructive power to rival the highest forms of magic, a force that could erase 10,000 soldiers in an instant. The city trembles beneath their clash. The monstrous skeleton laughs darkly, taunting him with pride over its devastation. Dwight remains calm, acknowledging the sheer strength of its power and admits that the treasures of the Valley of the Dead are beyond measure. As his energy surges once more, he recalls the days when he was still human, when his magic was his pride, though bound by mortal limits. But those limits no longer exist. Now he stands as something far greater, his power pure and unshackled. Focusing his energy, he commands the creature to be still. In the same breath, he releases a devastating blast that sends the massive skeleton crashing to the ground. Dust rises as the creature staggers back up, furious and trembling. Yet Dwight remains composed, his voice steady as he faces it. The time has come for it to listen. He tells it firmly that he does not wish to fight. Dwight wields the hero's sword, channeling the abilities she bestowed upon him. As he faces the monstrous skeleton, he senses her presence guiding him. After striking the creature down, he realizes he has absorbed all its magic and miasma, leaving it powerless to retaliate. The skeleton accepts its defeat, urging him to end it, claiming this is its final moment. Dwight remains resolute, refusing to destroy it, and explaining that its creation must have a purpose. Surprised, the construct seeks further direction. Extending his hand, Dwight firmly expresses his wish to become his subordinate. He can enforce obedience completely, yet he chooses to respect its free will. He asks if it will lend him its power. Dwight recognizes the creature's strong ego and formidable fighting ability, and feels gratitude, knowing that its support would provide a powerful ally. The skeleton places its hand in his, pledging its service. 3 days pass, and all the undead Dwight has raised have become loyal servants. Observing the scene, he notes that most of the body disposal and debris cleanup has been handled efficiently, his subordinates performing admirably. During this time, the skeleton he created approaches, announcing that it has prepared a meal with great care and has brought it diligently toward the dining hall. Dwight feels regretful. He informs the construct that he cannot eat or drink, noting that this should have been obvious. The construct realizes its error and feels embarrassed, acknowledging the mistake. Dwight, treating it as Grom, notes that he has committed a lifelong blunder. He guides him to help him decide what to wear. Grom has now become his loyal retainer, vowing to scour the royal capital to bring him the best and serve wholeheartedly. Dwight observes that Grom's defiance has vanished entirely, replaced with humble loyalty. Grom confesses admiration for his purpose and methods, performing his duties since swearing allegiance as the Demon Lord's executive officer. He has grown fond of the name Dwight gave him. Dwight instructs him to wait until further orders as he gathers supplies. Grom warns him against trivial distractions, promising to carry out any command. Dwight studies him closely, noting that despite his peculiarities, he is highly skilled and knowledgeable. Born from grudges and miasma, he has inherited fragments of the dead's experiences and memories, forming a completely new individual. Despite his strangeness, he trusts Grom implicitly, confident he will never betray him. Reflecting on the morning's actions, he has already notified every kingdom territory of his presence. He resolves that if the regions pledge obedience, he will not invade, though they are welcome to follow him. He anticipates that other nations will respond by dispatching subjugation forces and considers the potential effects on neighboring countries, knowing they may already mobilize holy magicians. Dwight understands he must shape an environment worthy of a demon lord and seeks allies with distinct personalities like Grom. Even so, he recognizes that true peace, the one the hero once sought, remains far from realization. Knowing that she will not return, he approaches his constructs, reflecting that only in his presence can she find rest. Even with all his abilities, he cannot turn her into an undead. He cannot discern whether her soul is resisting, or if it is his own internal conflict, yet he hopes to one day restore her to life. Suddenly, Grom arrives with news. He listens intently as Grom reports that the nearest territory has dispatched an army, moving swiftly toward the king's land. Dwight realizes they intend to reclaim their royal capital. The king is dead, the country's heart destroyed, and the nobility cannot remain idle. Concerned that a subjugation force has been sent within 3 days, he resolves to go personally. Demonstrating that a demon lord has risen, he vows to set an example if he wants the world to recognize the threat he poses. He leaves Graham in charge, who acknowledges the responsibility and promises to protect the demon lord's castle with all his might. Dwight senses that surrender would be wiser for the opposing forces. He prepares to depart, but Grom instructs him to remain for the moment. Outside, their army stands ready. Dwight quickly changes into his special attire for this occasion, determined to show the mortals what a true demon lord represents. At the same time, a bird he sent arrives, delivering a letter that leaves all present astonished. The bird, unusual in its skeletal form, captures attention. With curiosity, the letter is opened, and the mention of the demon lord fills the lady with reassurance and excitement, having awaited this moment for a long time. Upon reaching the site and seeing the army, Dwight realizes their number nears 20,000. Along with this, he learns that they have formed a sacred magical barrier, proof that they are serious about reclaiming the royal capital. The sheer scale of their mobilization in less than 3 days astonishes him. Watching them steadily advance, he feels no trace of mercy within himself to simply let them enter unchallenged. Determined, he decides to crush their will to fight here and now. He believes that once broken, they will not recklessly charge into battle again, and the conflict will end for both sides. To him, this is the best possible outcome. Gripping his constructs tightly, he feels there is no turning back. The weight of resolve settles in his chest as he prepares himself for what must be done. Memories of his battle with Grom flash through his mind how Grom commanded the miasma with ease. Drawing on that lesson, he decides to test his own control in practice. He raises his hand toward the sky, channeling immense power. Darkness gathers above, clouds twisting as if alive. A violent surge descends, shaking the earth. The knights stare in horror and lose their arrows, but their weapons vanish into the storm without effect. In the next instant, a blinding force crashes down, the ground splits, and countless knights fall lifeless. Through the devastation, Dwight understands he has done it. He has merged magic and miasma into one. All that remains is for the dead to rise. One by one, the fallen stir, turning their comrades into the undead. Dwight watches in cold silence as he has grown used to this sight. Panic spreads among the survivors as they flee, only to be hunted down by the very soldiers who once fought beside them. Seeing the chaos unfold, Dwight feels grim satisfaction. These few survivors will carry the tale of his power, spreading fear throughout the land. 10 years have passed since the last Demon Lord's death, and now the world will learn that a new terror has risen. He remembers how in life his teleportation could reach only as far as his eyes could see. But now, in this undead form, the same ability extends far beyond that limit. Controlling an army of 20,000 proves effortless, allowing him to command strategies on a grand scale. He feels no fatigue, no drain of magic, only boundless strength. The advantages of his transformation seem without end. After everything, Dwight commands all the knights to march toward the Valley of the Dead. For him, it is not a calculated move, but an instinctive act. As the knights throw themselves into the valley, his power begins to surge, growing stronger with every passing moment. He realizes that the Valley of the Dead itself is the true source of his strength. He senses a deep connection between his existence and the miasma that his very being is sustained and reinforced through it. Resolute, he decides to sacrifice more undead from now on. He believes his power comes from the valley, yet feels that perhaps his very existence is born from it as well. He knows other forces must be gathering elsewhere, but they should already understand that numbers alone cannot overpower him. He knows that humans can no longer defeat an existence like his. Still, he understands they will not throw their lives away for nothing. Deep down, his true wish is to keep the threat of the Demon Lord alive, so that peace among humans may continue to endure. Afterward, he heads toward the royal city and resurrects all the fallen knights through his power. Walking through the ruined streets, he realizes he did not return to the castle right away because his heart desired to wander through the capital. Seeing the suffering people's pain grips him, yet regret never finds him. He knows this is the path he chose. Watching the city sink into darkness, he accepts that the wise man is gone. Only the immortal Demon Lord remains. As he returns calmly to his mansion, his gaze freezes upon seeing its new appearance. Upon entering, Grom greets him with praise for all he has accomplished. Dwight listens quietly before asking why the castle's exterior has changed. Grom answers solemnly that he redesigned it to suit a Demon Lord's residence and strengthened it so no intruder can enter. He asks for his lord's approval, eager for his reaction. Seeing Grom's excitement, Dwight senses that if he had a tail, it would be wagging in joy. Looking around, he realizes that although Grom changed the castle's design as he wished, he also reinforced its defenses with powerful magic. Anyone who enters uninvited will be burned to ash in an instant. He recognizes how skilled and devoted Grom truly is. Achieving so much in such little time is no easy task. His calm demeanor hides a truly fearsome power. Satisfied, he thanked him for the effort, admitting he had overlooked the castle's defenses. Grom's face lights up with pride as he expresses that all his effort has finally paid off. Dwight acknowledges that he is fortunate to have such a loyal subordinate, but gently reminds him to consult him before taking action in the future. Grom bows, hoping to always remain a faithful and useful servant. Suddenly, both sense an unfamiliar presence nearby. Grom warns him that guests have arrived. Without hesitation, Dwight takes him along. As they step outside, they see a vast army. Grom notes the sheer number of troops and finds it strange that they were undetected until moments ago. Dwight calmly concludes that they must have used concealment magic. He assures Grom there is no shame in it. Those enemies are cunning by nature. Composed, Grom asks if he knows them. Dwight's eyes narrow as he replies that he does once their paths once crossed long ago, in the days when he was still alive. Grom senses immediately that she is the leader, moving among them like a commanding succubus. He asks Dwight seriously who she truly is, recalling that their paths had crossed before. Dwight explains solemnly that she is a subordinate of the late Demon Lord, one of the 4 heavenly kings. Grom, astonished, presses for meaning, but Dwight waves him off, saying it can wait first, he must attend to their guests. As they step forward, he asks what brought her to his territory. She teases him about being the new Demon Lord, angering Grom instantly. Suddenly, she catches a whiff of magic in the air and recognizes Dwight, calling his name. Grom beams, but Dwight silences him, handling the meeting himself. Calling her Luciana, he remarks that it has been a long time. She answers coolly that he has not seen her since the day Hero split her in two. Dwight observes her carefully, her black-clad figure, poised elegance, and deliberate gaze, all crafted to provoke. He reflects on how many have fallen victim to her poison. After studying him, she remarks on his transformation and strict demeanor. Dwight calmly attributes it to the power of the undead, which she already senses. She smiles, noting that standing and talking like this is tiring, and asks to enter, implying her group wants to rest. Dwight allows it. Grom still worries, but Dwight reassures him, promising that if anything happens, he will erase it with full power. Luciana, observing him, senses his change and laughs, surprised that he seems more charming now. She mentions the city's unstable miasma, and Dwight assures her it only slightly affects creatures. He remains cautious, aware the intensity could be dangerous. He leads her inside, granting her exclusive access to the place. After sitting calmly, he asks her about her purpose. She assures him she has no ill intent. They are longtime acquaintances. Grom grows tense, but Dwight calms him, explaining their past enmity ended with the death of the previous demon lord. 10 years have passed, and there is no reason to fight. Luciana jokes about revenge, noting she could have claimed the title herself. He responds seriously that if that were the case, he would raise them as undead for a purpose. She laughs, reassured that he only serves the new demon lord. She explains how after the demon lord's death, the army's remnants were suppressed by humans. She had retreated with her companions, waiting for a new demon lord. His power now surpasses the previous ruler. She expresses surprise at his rise, aware he and Hero were sentenced to death. Dwight tells her it is not a happy story. She laughs loudly, noting humans' foolishness, while Dwight affirms that salvation is still possible. Relief and surprise wash over her. He insists his efforts aim to maintain peace, ideals he held in life and still upholds. He recognizes her intentions and asks her plans. Luciana offers peace technology and power even to the royal capital to aid him. He sees their goals align perfectly. Grom privately asks Dwight if he trusts Luciana. Dwight confirms, noting her power and the care required. As long as he maintains oversight, everything is controlled. Both sides use each other, nothing more, nothing less. Grom accepts this. Dwight mentions he will rely on him when needed. Grom pledges his full devotion. Dwight apologizes to Luciana for the wait, declaring she and her forces will join him, protected, but must fight in his war against humans. She happily agrees, pledging loyalty. Clinging to him, she admits she likes powerful men, recalling the same allegiance to the previous demon lord. Grom's anger spikes, and he pushes her away from Dwight. Grom's anger flares at her audacity toward his lord. He warns him that no one must be allowed to deceive or trouble him, and notes that she appears shrewd rather than kind. Luciana remains composed, sensing no threat, and points out that he is far from a true demon lord and is only interested in the strongest. Graham grows even angrier and launches a mock attack toward her to show that he can turn her pride and beauty into ugliness. Luciana responds eagerly, readying her magic to counter him and reduce him to dust. Both prepare to challenge each other fully. Dwight observes the confrontation, deciding they may spar for now. He steps outside to survey the surroundings and inform their subordinates of the agreement. Outside, the knights stand ready to intercept, preventing any chaos. Watching the battle unfold, Dwight notes that he commands 12 soldiers and that Luciana's forces are joining the assault. He devastates the northern city with his precise transfer magic while allowing her troops to participate. Seeing the operation progress smoothly, he feels reassured. Grom directs the conquered humans to kneel before the demon lord. Dwight reminds him that their goal is not total destruction. He instructs restraint, aware that reckless attacks could annihilate everyone. The purpose is to demonstrate the demon lord's threat and establish a natural hierarchy of cooperation among humans. Grom notes that their current numbers are enough for humans to understand the disparity and promises to show his limitless power. Dwight recognizes that Grom has been managing their objective with precision. The battle rages with full intensity. Inside the enemy stronghold, the commander hopes his soldiers can hold them off, but he freezes when he sees Dwight and Grom before him. Dwight senses that the commander is ready to sacrifice his land, fearful of losing the city destined for conquest. He understands that such recklessness has no place in his vision of ideal humanity. The commander shouts insults. Grom remains steady, turning anger into authority. Dwight steps in decisively, striking with power to remove selfish and dark-hearted individuals, ensuring no one harms another. He orders all to bow to survive, and those who comply preserve their lives. Dwight advances further, observing local lords submitting. Territories around the fractured royal capital are recognized as part of the demon lord's domain. Though seemingly subtle, his attacks reach nearly every region. As more fall, plots form against him. Humans must set aside differences and unite to resist, cooperating to confront the demon lord. At this moment, Luciana arrives at the stronghold, noting with satisfaction the rapid progress of events. He observes the combined forces of ogres and the undead performing brilliantly. The undead breach enemy lines on their own, and with support, territories fall faster than expected. Her army exerts a decisive influence, and her command is flawless. He realizes this success is due entirely to her skill. She admits she trained each soldier herself, and takes pride in their effectiveness. She invites him to tea later, just the two of them. Grom warns Dwight against accepting, suspecting hidden motives. She teases lightly, and Grom grows protective, accusing her of trying to take his lord away from him. Dwight silences them, insisting any flirtation must wait until reports are properly presented. Watching them interact, Dwight reflects that they are shaping each other into capable allies. He grows confident that with his exceptional army under command, it is only a matter of time before he controls the entire kingdom. Various regions will become battlefields. The first move in an all-out war has begun. After all this, Dwight realizes that no foreign nation has yet made a move. The losses from the dead remain contained within the realm, and for now, the outside world only watches, curious about the rise of a new demon lord. Sensing the shifting tide, he decides it is time to act, time to confront this threat head-on. He gathers them and Grom with steady seriousness, declares that they must begin a war council to decide the future of the demon lord's domain. He asks for everyone's consent. Dwight gives a calm assurance there are no objections, and the council begins. As they discuss, Luciana playfully teases Dwight, provoking Grom's irritation. Dwight, however, dismisses the tension with quiet authority, telling Grom not to be distracted and asking Luciana to refrain from pointless remarks. The air settles and Grom continues. He reports that most of the kingdom has already fallen under the demon lord's control. It is nearly a full conquest. Dwight notes that only the cold northern regions and the great noble districts remain, but Grom confidently assures him their victory path is already clear. Their next target is surrounding territories. Dwight listens, realizing that their rule, though vast, is still confined, and perhaps that is why the great nations have not yet taken their power seriously. Grom unfolds a map, his tone grave. Some matters, he says, demand immediate action. He points to a small country on the southwestern border whose recent movements are suspicious. Hearing this, Dwight realizes that he has heard about it from Luciana. She speaks up, satisfaction glinting in her eyes. She had already investigated the matter in secret. The small nation has gathered an army near the border, clearly planning to reclaim the fallen royal capital and expand its own domain. What troubles her more is their excessive weaponry signs that another unseen nation might be aiding them. She cannot tell who, but she warns that ignoring them would be dangerous. For the future's sake, she insists they must crush that country now. Accepting Dwight as their commander, they await his decision. His gaze hardens as he realizes that the world must understand the threat of the demon lord is not confined to one land. Whatever lies behind that small kingdom, he will turn it into a stepping stone toward peace. He decides firmly to annihilate them completely. His words ignite the room. The others bow their heads, pleased and resolute. Under his command, preparations begin at once, with Grom and Luciana leading the charge with fierce determination. Dwight knows that striking first will expose not only the small kingdom, but also the hidden powers behind it. Later, he stands outside the fortress, deep in thought. The demons below are sparring fiercely, training for the coming war of their own accord. The sight fills him with pride. The miasma that once plagued the city now lingers only at its borders, making the royal capital livable again. Beneath the castle and in old warehouses, the undead gather in droves, and the once polluted areas now pulse with new energy and purpose. Watching this rebirth, Dwight feels a quiet resolve that he must honor their spirit with his own strength. When Luciana tours the city, she watches the demons working diligently. Progress in the royal capital is steady and strong. She tells Dwight that over the past decade, she has honed countless survival skills without them. She would not still be alive. Together, they see how the land, freed from miasma, has grown rich again. The people labor daily to restore their city and rebuild their lives. Then his gaze falls on a lone human working among the demons. She looks at him with surprise, asking calmly whether the man's presence interests him, and adds evenly that the man is merely a servant who has already adapted to their world. He nods silently, accepting her words. He sees humans and demons together and realizes he never imagined witnessing such a scene in his life, not even in his wildest dreams. The sight fills him with a strange joy, knowing it is a peace formed through this chaos. He understands that these people are now citizens of his realm, and he accepts that he must protect them from any danger. This peace exists because people are concentrated in the capital. He senses that achieving this on a global scale would be astonishing, yet impossible without reducing everything to ashes. The only way to maintain large-scale peace is for some great evil to remain. The thought of the hero crosses his mind. His power grows, and he senses the attacks around him. Seeing her skeletal remains, he realizes he still cannot bring her back, yet he reassures himself that he must move forward. He becomes certain that if he creates the world she desires, they will meet again, and it will become reality. Suddenly, a movement draws his attention. Grom stands before him, telling him the time has come. Seeing Dwight so absorbed, Grom asks if he is ready. Dwight, slightly apologetic, assures him he was lost in thought. Looking outside at the gathered crowd, he is struck by the anticipation of the people, all eager to hear him speak. Dwight addresses the demons who revel in battle, explaining that those seeking revenge or repaying debts are gathered for different purposes. He senses that the immortal among them is ready to act. He recalls a sage from the past who fought countless deadly battles alongside the hero and killed the demon lord. Yet he assures the crowd that the fate of that sage is no concern now. The true importance lies in the truth he has discovered that the world is broken. They are sacrifices, marginalized by this era, stepping stones along a larger path. He urges them to embrace the currents of change and assures them that their march has begun. Their bodies and forms will bear the colors of evil, part of the history that heralds the rise of the new demon king. His words ignite the demons into a frenzy. They rise, shouting and cheering, and he makes them understand that they are to become the sole agents of evil. He ensures they understand their loyalty to the demon lord of this era, commanding them to hold nothing back and show their full power. Watching this, Dwight senses they have become the living embodiment of the demon lord's strength. Grom notes that his speech is inspiring, exactly as expected, but Dwight reassures him that he has only sparked their fervor. They are still unaware of his true purpose. Grom inquires seriously about the offer, and Dwight does not reveal it, making clear that such knowledge cannot be shared. It might leak, and even allies cannot know. Given the circumstances, he has decided that only a select few may understand his true desire for a world of genuine peace. He knows that if this knowledge reaches humanity at large, his existence as a demon lord would shatter, and instilling fear and devastation would become impossible. The path ahead is difficult. Grom asks if this is his boldness at work, but he assures him no one could act with such audacity. For Dwight, being called a kind figure carries a strange irony. Meanwhile, in a distant jail within the mansion, a man remains bound, thinking quietly, sensing that something truly intriguing is about to unfold. At the same time, Grom reports that the preparations for departure are complete. Dwight nods, calm and confident, leaving everything in his hands. Grom straightens with pride, vowing to crush any enemy who dares cross their path. Luciana, amused, casts a doubtful glance his way, questioning whether this pile of bones can truly defend the castle in their absence. Grom flares with anger, his hollow eyes glowing fiercely as he declares that the demon lord himself chose him for this duty. To prove his worth, he threatens to erase anyone who doubts him. She only smirks, teasing him further until Dwight intervenes, his tone firm, ordering both to quiet down and stay focused. Dwight surveys his force's 200 monsters and 1,500 undead 1,700 soldiers in total. The number seems small for conquering a nation, but his own presence he believes will more than make up for it. He assigns Grom and several loyal subordinates to guard the royal capital. Luciana assures him she will protect the demon lord herself, instructing the rest to secure the city. Grom accepts the command with pride and loyalty blazing in his voice. She steps forward and requests Dwight's first order. He keeps his words brief and resolute, surviving and claiming glory. The teleportation that follows is swift and precise, and Luciana notes how extraordinary it is to move such a massive army so flawlessly. Dwight realizes that her subordinate succubus has tracked the movements of the small nation. A surprise attack was in preparation, but it was doomed from the beginning. Dwight remarks coldly that if he cannot achieve even this much, he has no right to be called the world's evil. She glances at him curiously, wondering if he really intends to force surrender. He makes his stance firm that victory without bloodshed is ideal, but he will do whatever must be done. He then faces the human army, his voice carrying like thunder as he declares the arrival of the demon lord's forces. The humans panic and charge, their knights rushing forward in a desperate attempt to hold the line. His forces meet them head-on. The clash is brutal and unrelenting. Dwight watches the chaos unfold, uncertain if a bloodless victory is even possible now. Luciana shakes her head, her voice edged with scorn, reminding him that she warned him humans are fools driven by pride. He exhales sharply, realizing he has no other choice. He channels his magic, unleashing a surge of power that sweeps through the battlefield, and orders his army to strike with full force. The humans fire in panic as waves of undead hurl themselves into the fight. They scream in disbelief as the undead continue advancing, tearing through their defenses. The air fills with the sound of steel and anguish as the tide turns against them. Luciana watches the spectacle, eyes gleaming, calling it a magnificent view. Dwight notices her sipping wine and asks, with quiet reproach, if she brought that with her. She smiles slyly, saying he should enjoy watching his subordinates fight for him. He reminds her to be serious and turns his gaze back to the field. He has no intention of joining the battle. His faith lies with the monsters. To him, the Demon Lord's army must savor the intoxication of victory. She adds that a succubus like her doesn't get drunk on wine, but in moments like these. Before they move on, Dwight reports that the canal is under their control and that their forces are advancing deeper into enemy territory. The progress feels strong, and Luciana praises the pace, curious whether any humans can truly stand against them. Dwight answers evenly that the small nation's forces had once planned to attack the fallen royal capital, a doomed attempt from the start. Likely pressured by neighboring powers, they acted out of desperation. He concludes that once they reach the royal castle, they will find the documents that prove it, and with them, the truth behind this war. Dwight decides to punish all nations involved in the unnecessary conspiracy. He realizes that if he truly wants to ignite the Demon Lord's rise, mere action is not enough. Observing everything carefully, he considers whether this is truly what he desires. While going along with Luciana, he explains seriously that the small nation's opportunity should not be wasted and must be acted upon quickly before any unexpected events occur. She remarks that it sounds boring and that even a small nation should have some strong individuals. He realizes that among the humans there, only a handful are capable of standing against the Demon Lord's army. Reflecting on his past life alongside the hero, he is lost in thought when he suddenly senses Luciana's teasing tone, which makes him realize that until he becomes the hero or the master's sage himself, he cannot succeed. He replies seriously that despite thousands of battles fought by the Empire, no such person has appeared. He reassures her that heroes do not appear easily, and that 10 years have passed without a new hero emerging, proving his point completely. She recalls the old good days, and he asks seriously if she refers to the time she served under the late Demon King. She affirms with warmth, noting how enjoyable it was, and adds that he seemed kind back then. He forbids her from calling him by that name. Surprised, she asks if he truly discarded his human name. He calmly responds that it does not matter. She insists it does remind him he is still himself, not just a demon lord. He affirms with certainty that he remains himself. She questions whether the Demon Lord sees himself as merely a tool created for a purpose. He replies seriously that he sees no problem in that, as it is the best way to achieve his goal. She gestures for him to step closer, saying it should not be that way. He asks her to step back, yet she with seriousness expresses her wish to learn more about him. He reassures her that for now they must focus on the battle. She observes the surroundings and reassures him that the people do not need to leave the Demon King's territory yet, so he need not worry. She also prompts him to value himself more. He accepts her words seriously, and she hopes for more clarity from him in the future. She reminds him that he must also speak to the overly attentive pile of bones and assures him that if he ever faces troubles, he can speak freely without hesitation. She notes that some things would be difficult to discuss with that pile of bones. He reassures her that he will rely on her when the time comes. Suddenly, Luciana senses danger and quickly forms a magical bomb, hurling it toward the city while cheerfully responding to Dwight. Watching this, he feels uncertain about what just happened, but realizes she was encouraging him in her unique way. He feels fortunate to have such allies around him. Surveying the city, she notes that no enemies remain on the streets, and that humans now seem to want them to lay siege instead. Dwight finds it fitting yet somewhat naive. He tells her he'll inform Grom of their progress and return soon. He suddenly senses his body in human form fatigued, realizing this is the result of his training. He can now transfer bodies without destroying the previous one, as long as it is an undead under his control. He notes it is not as tiring as magic transfer, though. He wonders why every skeleton he possesses turns black. It does not harm him, but he is curious. Calling for Grom, he sees him appear quickly. Dwight reports their progress. Grom is pleased. Dwight reassures him that everything is on schedule, no issues have arisen, and the matter will soon be resolved. Grom affirms that humans cannot resist the Demon Lord's army, and Dwight expected this. He instructs him to continue overseeing the royal capital, and Grom promises a celebration once he returns. After leaving the manor and observing the city, Dwight senses the battle has ended. Luciana approaches and reports that the Demon Lord's forces control most of the capital, but an unexpected issue has arisen. Resistance holds out in a prison. Undead are being eliminated one by one, and the garrison will likely need reinforcement. He notes the surprise, but recalls that such difficulties were expected due to the castle's strong defenses. He adds that the defenders have gathered a bloodthirsty force and asks about the number opposing them. She confirms it is a single stronghold, a single person standing against the army. The defenders' level appears that of a hero. They realize that the man is very powerful and dangerous. Dwight and Luciana advance toward their goal, fully aware that villains always rise to challenge heroes. He reflects that whenever the world faces danger, a hero appears. Yet fate seems constantly to work against them. He envisions a savior with miraculous power and quietly wishes he could be that kind of person. Luciana asks him seriously if he has any idea. He does not answer directly, but she points out that if such a person existed, the Demon Lord's army would already know about him. He explains that the man has been imprisoned for years, unable to find peace in his anger before his battle with the Demon King, a man who has completely lost his sanity. Together they approach the prisoner. As they near, the man shouts, demanding to know if he is the master of these beings and firmly challenges him to fight. Tired of weak opponents, Dwight accepts. He maintains his composure and asks if he may speak for a moment, but before the words settle, the man attacks. Luciana's heart races with worry as Dwight defends himself, countering the strike with precise magical skill. He senses the man's incredible strength and the heat of true battle. He hurls a bomb with overwhelming force. Luciana quickly checks on Dwight, making sure he is unharmed. While Dwight realizes that the man does not use any magic, a single strike has already shattered his defenses in an instant. Despite the pain, the man remains completely unaffected. Dwight sees that he has stopped a blazing fireball with his bare hands. Luciana watches in awe, recognizing that his strength surpasses all other heroes, being far beyond ordinary limits. Dwight gravely informs her that this man is Henry Palkin, an invincible warrior, once known as the closest person to slaying the Demon Lord. She is stunned. Calm yet firm, he asks if she disagrees, and she quietly admits she cannot. Suddenly, Henry orders them to leave. Dwight warns Luciana to stay back and steps forward to face him alone. The man attacks suddenly, but Dwight dodges. He notes his extraordinary skill, enduring every strike and countering with immense strength. Even a sudden frontal attack is instinctively blocked. He realizes that Henry does all this without magic, has no special abilities, and cannot be affected by his powerful spells. There is clearly no weakness. The air grows heavy and poisonous, but Henry remains completely unaffected. Dwight realizes that ordinary people have already become lifeless corpses, while his sheer vitality shields him from the miasma. Before him stands a man untouched by death itself. Calling his name, he proposes a wager. Henry is taken aback. Dwight offers the terms if he wins. Henry joins the Demon Lord's army. If Henry wins, he will grant any wish he desires. Dwight senses that he can be swayed. Everything depends on how tempting the offer feels. He notes that, although Henry is sharp and humorless now, he was once a man of great seriousness. At that moment, he realizes the truth. Henry could have escaped at any time, but has chosen to remain in this place for 10 long years, by his own will. Henry puts forward his demand. If he defeats him, he wants command of the Demon Lord's army. He reminds him that his days as a prisoner are over, and that thought has driven his resolve. To him, the idea of standing against the entire world feels exhilarating. Dwight, observing him closely, realizes he had always sensed his antisocial nature, yet this level of defiance surpasses his expectations. Henry declares that the role of the Demon Lord is far beyond what an unprepared skeleton like him can handle. He clearly doubts his ability to bear such a title. When he challenges him about being ready for the task, Dwight answers with calm determination, assuring him that he is fully prepared. For a brief moment, he falls silent, wondering if anyone could ever replace him. The thought quickly fades as he understands no such person exists. With sharp resolve, Henry provokes him to take the bet and demands an answer. A confident smile spreads across his face as he vows not to miss such a thrilling opportunity. He calls him to settle their battle now and charges with a swift, powerful strike. Dwight immediately sends his undead forward, but Henry cuts them down in a single blow. Dwight responds by releasing his full magical power, the air trembling under the force. Henry's eyes widen as the shockwave spreads across the ground like a sweeping storm. With no choice left, Dwight braces himself. Henry senses the weight of the attack and steels himself to endure it. As they clash, Dwight notices the wild intensity in his gaze, a desperate obsession with victory. He silently acknowledges the frightening strength radiating from his opponent, power beyond reason. Inwardly, he admits that, in another life, he would never have wanted him as his enemy. Despite enduring Dwight's unrelenting magic, Henry meets his eyes, serious and unshaken. Dwight shows his resolve, declaring through action that he can win if he throws everything into the fight. The statement only ignites Henry's fury further. Refusing to yield, he smashes through the walls with raw strength and rushes forward. In that instant, Dwight understands the cost of the clash. Even if his arms are torn apart, he accepts the sacrifice. His limbs surge with mechanical precision, striking back against his onslaught with crushing force.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.